Hello, friends. On this glorious day in drink history, we travel to Atlanta through an inspired conversation. And ladies and gentlemen, let me start by saying Atlanta is one of my favorite drinking cities in the world, and one that is often overlooked when taking inventory of the great cocktail destinations in the United States. It's a difficult scene to describe, but the thing that sets it apart for me is educational passion, which may sound like a cop-out, but I don't know how to explain it. The bartenders there just have a relentless enthusiasm and passion that I find rejuvenating every time I visit. I'm not saying it's better or worse than other cities, it's just totally unique and awesome. And my guest today is a perfect representation of this fine drinking city. Bartender Kaleb Cribb has established himself as a top bartender in Atlanta and is best known for running the bar program at Holeman Finch Public House. He recently moved on from Holeman Finch in pursuit of new spirits-fueled adventures. A little bird may have told me what those adventures entail, and they may indeed be spectacular, but all I can say for certain right now is that he's an extremely talented individual with great things in his future. Let's do this. This episode of the Educational Drinking Show is sponsored by Luxardo. You all know and love Luxardo for their legendary maraschino liqueur and maraschino cherries for garnishing. But did you know that there is so much more to Luxardo than maraschino? That's right, folks. A full range of Luxardo liqueurs is available for your cocktail creativity, including Amaro Habano, Bitter, Aperitivo, my personal favorite, Luxardo Apricot, and the newest offering, Bitter Bianco. Good stuff. And now it is my great pleasure to share with you my interview with Kaleb Cribb.
I think to people listening in Atlanta who would hear that would be proud of that because we pride ourselves on our scene. We really do. And the education that Anchor brought that day was just unbelievable. I mean, whether the people who were in attendance knew the people who were in front of them or not didn't really matter because we were just getting pounded with so much good education from it. And it was such a wonderful thing. And I think when it comes to Atlanta, because we're not as large of a market as Chicago, as New York, as San Francisco's, and those are all wonderful markets. But I think in the back of our heads, always understand that we aren't on that level. We don't get that kind of attention. But our passions are so out front because we want people to understand that we are just as involved and just as much wanting to be a part of this whole conversation. So yeah, I mean, we as a whole culture, we all support one another very well. All of the bartenders there love one another. We see each other quite regularly. And everything it just feels comforting. You really do get that sense of family and camaraderie that really makes sense. So
How long have you been in Atlanta?
I've been in Atlanta now for a little over 3 years now. Before then, I was in Athens, Georgia, which, little known fact, is one of the best places you could ever go in the state of Georgia. If you're going to settle down a family, go to Athens, Georgia. Great bars, great food, but still that really small community.
Isn't that where REM's from?
It's where REM's from.
Does everyone say that?
Well, yes and no. Actually, funny story. Michael Stipe still lives there, and you can't acknowledge Michael Stipe if you see him. Like, you can't run up and fanboy. He'll just get freaked out. But I can tell you some great stories about seeing Stipe, but in Athens, you call it getting stiped when he walks into a restaurant at 5 till close and then sits there for 3 hours, and it's amazing. So, but yeah, music scene in Athens is wonderful, but that's where I came from before Atlanta. I was running some bars there. For the people who are super into the culinary world, that's where Hugh Atchison is based, and he's an unbelievable Southern talent for chefs. He's got a lot of restaurants there as well as in Atlanta. But yeah, Atlanta's been 3 years for me, but I've been in the South pretty much my entire life.
Were you bartending in Athens?
I was, yeah. I ran a bar called Farm 255, which is now defunct, rest in peace, but it was just such an amazing place. They literally asked from the hostess all the way up to the managers to go out every month or two to a farm and help actually like plow or like actually like harvest fields and things like that for things that you were going to be serving in the restaurant. It was an unbelievable connection for a hands-on place. So that was really cool. Bartended in Athens for, geez, that's really where I gnashed my teeth, 5 or 6 years.
Yeah.
It's really where I started kind of getting into the whole cocktail culture. And as many people who I've learned from, I really did kind of teach myself because there was nobody there in Athens to kind of teach you how to do that. So that was a lot of fun, honestly, was Athens.
We were chatting before and you said technique is something that really resonates with you. How did you become so passionate about technique and, really learning your craft in Athens? How did you embrace technique?
Well, when everybody picks up, their first cocktail shaker, they start shaking to whatever motion feels comfortable. Mm-hmm. But then the more you get involved, the more you get into what you're doing, the more you kind of start watching videos and you see other people shake, or you go to another bar and you see another bartender shake, and you start feeling and hearing the rhythm of your shake and kind of getting everything correct in the motions. And then you get your mind blown by watching Japanese hard shakes, and it's like, okay, well, I don't do anything like that. So technique to me is just an unbelievably huge importance behind the bar, because you should always be seeking to better your technique. I think one of the greatest things that's happening in the bartending community now is we really are starting to take better care of ourselves and, being more concerned with our health and, making sure your shoulders don't shred or your elbows the joint pains don't get to you by the time you're 30.
Tell me about that. How do you take that idea and put it into practice for yourself?
Well, kind of coinciding with the technique thing, you have to start kind of really understanding what hurts and why it hurts, like what corresponding motion hurts or makes this part of your body hurt. But, then you can always talk about the vitamins and the supplements you need to take, more B12. Here's some, just daily vitamins of any kind. CoQ10 would be the first thing I would tell people. If you don't know about CoQ10, that's just an unbelievably helpful vitamin supplement that can keep your bone structure and your joints very healthy. But then, same thing. Maybe don't go out drinking one extra night a week and go to a juice bar or something like that. Or yoga is another good one that just, it allows you to stay limber because you're going to be on your feet for 10 to 12 hours at a time. So
that's not nothing either.
Standing
for that long?
Yeah. No, it's not something you can just kind of chart away as,
no,
this is my job. No, it really does take a physical, it takes something out of your physical body to, to have that happen, that kind of problem. And it's, it's something that if this really is a career now, if bartending and bar management and bar ownership is a valid career, which I think we are in New Orleans right now, obviously it is, then, these are things you have to consider. So you're not a cripple by the time you're 40 or 45.
So when you're talking about technique, it's not just what's going to create the best drink, but what's going to take care of your body over the long haul.
It's obviously a balance between both, but surely, like, you really do have to consider, if you're shaking over the top of your shoulder, why is my left shoulder hurting? Or, if I'm shaking out in front completely, why are my elbows hurting? And you have to kind of find this healthy balance of what creates the best experience for your guest, what creates the best cocktail, and also what helps your body personally not disintegrate.
Was that inspired by an injury?
It was, actually, yeah. I was a baseball player in a former life. So
what position?
First base. Left-handed first baseman.
How far did you make it?
College ball, but not good enough to stay there. So obviously I wasn't going to do anything else with it. So I went and became a poetry major, which natural, no, not at all.
Chasing the money, huh?
Exactly, of course, right. Get out and, have people just throwing dollars at me and women fawning at my feet. None of that happened. So, of course, naturally I went to the bar where I hoped they would there, and it still really didn't happen. But yeah, no, playing baseball, being left-handed, my front shoulder, you kind of let your swing go and you kind of let this arm happen. Well, I kind of pulled some muscles in the front of my shoulder early in life, and as I started shaking cocktails, I started noticing that pain kind of happening more and more. So started switching aside or maybe pushing it out in front of me a little bit more to kind of nurse that wound. But I realized, oh, well, if I shake this way and this way, then I'm actually creating a better rhythm. The drink is getting colder. I'm actually making a better cocktail. Yeah, so like I said, it's a good balance between the two. But yeah, that injury actually, thanks, I guess is the thing to say. So
That's awesome. And it's something that we haven't, oh, hi there. It's something that we haven't really talked about on this show. We've talked to 40 or 50 bartenders, and this is the first time ergonomics and bartender wellness has really come up. But, and you also mentioned, take a night off of drinking and take care of your body. And I hope it's a conversation that gains a lot more momentum, because you try and keep up with everybody. You just can't do it, and then you're trying to drink at home when you're not working.
No, yeah. It becomes a bad cycle,
Yeah.
like you get into this place in your life where you don't need drinking, but it's just kind of what you do. And we're bartenders. Of course, that's a part of our existence. That's a part of the life we live. But if you're going to do that to yourself, you have to supplement it with, taking care of yourself at the same time. There's a brand ambassador in the world, Nicola Risk, who is a huge proponent about running and getting up early and going to bed early. When she's here at Tails, she's in bed as quickly as she can so she can get up and go jogging in the morning in New Orleans. I mean, that to me sounds torturous because it's 95 degrees outside at 8 a.m. But she's, she still has the ability to get up and go run. But that's, it's showing bartenders, it's showing industry people that you can live a healthy lifestyle and still do this job.
Yeah.
So, I think it's a conversation definitely worth having.
Going head to head with alcohol's undefeated.
It's true.
All time.
Very true.
It always wins.
Alcohol and death. It's always going to win.
Yeah.
But either one of them. Yep. So, take care of yourself. Take care of your body. Don't, no need to go home and have that last beer before you go to bed.
It's true. It's true.
And it's as simple as that sometimes. It's just one drink. Like, how many times at Tails are you going to go, well, I'll just have one more? Before you know it, it's 6 a.m.
Yeah.
So you got to call it at some point.
Or that nightcap when you get home. If you do that 5 nights a week, that's 250 drinks in a year.
There you go.
That's a lot of...
Mathematician, huh?
Yeah.
So you went to college for math?
No, not at all.
No, I didn't do that.
I don't think anyone goes to college to end up here in the best way possible.
I consider myself completely fortunate that I'm not...
The orphan industry.
Yeah, really. I consider myself fortunate to not be teaching in high school English classes right now. Like, oh my God, this is amazing. Thank God I'm not doing that. And to all of the teachers out there, I hope to Christ that you can get paid better in your life. I'm so sorry for how bad that education system has gotten. But that's ultimately what made me not go to that, was just how bad the money is for that. And how much they have to do for it. So got to have unbelievable ultimate respect for teachers right now.
There was just an article in the San Francisco Chronicle about teachers in San Francisco, and it's gotten so expensive that they're renting like people's dining rooms and just sleeping on the floor.
Good Lord.
Just because they can't afford to live in the city. It's crazy. But that's neither here nor there.
They can't even live in their own district they're teaching in. That's crazy.
It's crazy.
Yeah, I know. Chasing rabbits.
You have, I love it. You mentioned Japanese hard shake. Have you seen The Way of the Cocktail?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, right?
Oh, he's made my day.
Yeah, no, and back to the technique conversations, you finally get your shake down and you get comfortable, and then you go watch a YouTube of a Japanese hard shake, and you're like, am I been doing this wrong the whole time, or are these guys just crazy? And, you kind of, it's funny because the kind of go-to shake I have right now, the Japanese hard shake has, the rotation where it creates a unique kind of rotation on the inside of the shake. Well, if you have a Boston shaker, obviously your hands can't fit on the shaker the same way it can on a Japanese shaker. So they rotate let's see, this is crazy, but they rotate the shaker on a clockwise rotation to create that movement. Well, in a Boston shaker, if you rotate it counterclockwise, you can create the same movement, and it still feels, and you're still creating the movement and it still feels comfortable. This is nerd. I'm sorry. I'll put it back
I love
in.
it.
Yeah,
No, keep going.
No. But it's that's one of those techniques that I've kind of realized that you can incorporate from a Japanese hard shake into just a normal Boston shaker. So, and it gets the drink colder quicker. It creates a better cocktail. I mean, all of the things that it should be is still happening, but you are also not shredding a shoulder to do it or something like that. Like, I've seen so many people shake cold drafts until they're blue in the face, and I can, at this point in my life, I'm about to be 36 next week. I look at these 25, 26-year-old kids, and I'm like, man, don't you have no idea how bad this is going to hurt in 10 years if you want to keep this job up. You know?
It's true.
So,
So Atlanta, you moved to Atlanta, and that must have opened up a whole new world of bartending.
surely. Absolutely. Especially, well, this is another interesting debate, but, I came from dive bars, cracking PBRs and tossing Jamesons out to the crowd. That's what you come from. And I kind of hope that everybody starts in like really divey, dirty bars to start bartending. So when they do work their way into craft scenes, they have an ultimate appreciation for it all. But that's not the case so much anymore. A lot of people do start in craft these days. It just wasn't that way when I started, or that avenue wasn't available to me when I started. But now that I've gotten to Atlanta and...
Did you jump right into craft when you got to Atlanta?
Well, at Farm 255 in Athens is really where I kind of started getting into craft cocktails. I staged and trained with a couple people from Atlanta and kind of saw how that scene worked and how to develop a menu, how to, the sort of ins and outs of running a bar, or rather bar managing. But when I got to Atlanta, I actually worked on the distribution side for a little while, which is what got me to move from Athens to Atlanta. After a year and a half, 2 years on the distribution side, I kind of realized I missed being in a bar. And I wanted to shake cocktails again. And also, I think it's fair to say, you could say this about any major scene. I moved into Atlanta, and no one really knew me. They didn't know my reputation. They didn't know what I was capable of or what I'd run or done before. So, when I come walking into them and say, oh, hey, I work for XYZ distributor, you should buy this, or let's talk about cocktails. They kind of look at you and go, now, who are you? What have you done? I've never seen your picture before, So, or, one of those, did we meet at Tails one time? That sort of thing. So working back behind a bar has done immense things for me as far as, showing people, oh, wait, no, he really can run a bar. So, and it really makes me kind of want to go own a bar now instead of following a career path into the distributorship or supplierships. I would love to do those things as well as just a kind of understanding how the whole of the industry works. But at the end of the day, I sure would like to own a nice bar,
Yeah.
So
what is it about Atlanta? Because again, we did this tour around the country and we really had an opportunity to compare experiences. And the thing about Atlanta is at the time, we didn't even have a representative from our company there. So it's totally organic. And we had more attendees at the symposium than any other city. And we had more engagement than any other city. So what is it about Atlanta cocktail culture where's the magic coming from? Like, what's going on there?
I think it's just an ultimate thirst for knowledge and a thirst for bettering ourselves as a city, because I think every good bartender that I know in Atlanta certainly considers their city as much as themselves when it comes to improving. So, when we show up and we ask all the questions and we're engaged, it's a genuine, like you said, it's an organic thing. It's a genuine knowledge that you want to acquire. I have to believe at least a little bit of that. We all understand that we are behind Chicago and New York and places like that, but we just love what we do. We have a really good community who really cares about one another. And, the little things like everybody sees where it's like, oh, that guy got wrote up in this magazine. Well, that's cool. I think my cocktail's better. We all have those moments, but at the end of the day, we're all proud of one another. We're all happy to see each of us succeed,
How has the city changed even in like the last 3 years from a cocktail standpoint?
It just exponential growth. Atlanta's sprawl is unbelievable. So, for inside the perimeter of Atlanta, that's just saturated of people and cars and bars, and just there's so much going on. So now it's spreading to outside the perimeter of Atlanta, and it just keeps growing outward from the actual center of the city, which is a good thing and a bad thing. That means you have more really good cocktail bars and restaurants within the area, but they're also farther away from one another. So like in Atlanta, very few neighborhoods can you walk from bar to bar, right? A lot of the times it's going to be, okay, let's go to these two bars over here. And then after we finish there, let's take an Uber 15 minutes to this other bar. That's generally how Atlanta has to work. it's just not close enough to really be, it's not like we can all get off work and meet at the same bar because we're not all walking distance from it. And that sucks. It's not fun, but that is what it is. It's just the sprawl has kind of always kind of kept us back as far as like really creating the community like I see in Chicago or,
Are you more downtown or
I
outside?
live a little on the north side. So, like you understand what I mean by inside the perimeter, outside the perimeter. So I live just outside the perimeter on the north side. The place I work is essentially Buckhead, Midtown, which is still north as far as inner the perimeter goes. Downtown, there's not a lot of great things going on in downtown because it's kind of become this tourist attraction, and you're going to get all of your Hard Rock cafes and things like that.
Yeah.
So.
But it's such a cool opportunity to kind of blaze a trail into these neighborhoods further away from the epicenter because, we just had Bonnie Wilson in here, and her whole thing is bringing craft cocktails to the suburbs of Dallas. And you really have an opportunity to open up the world of craft cocktails to an entirely new audience. And that's powerful.
And it's exciting. It is.
Yeah.
There's always a fine line you have to run there, I think. And there's, for Atlanta's sake, there's definitely some really good bars opening outside the perimeter, like you say, farther from the source. But there's always a fine line you run. You can't go over, the suburbs head either. You can come out and talk about every tincture and shrub that you've ever made. But if they don't get it, then they don't get it. If they can't look at a page and say, I don't know what Aperol is, for example, or I don't know what random X liqueur is. Well, you just went over their head, you know? So if you can't give them a flavor profile on that menu, then you're not doing the right thing. I think that's where Atlanta really is as far as the spreading out goes. Outside the perimeter, you're still going to see a Sazerac on the menu, which I love a Sazerac, but you have to kind of still reel those fish in to say, hey, look, here's what a cocktail scene is.
Yeah.
Here's what we do. And this cocktail was made this long ago, that sort of thing. So it's good, the education aspect of it.
But that makes
good.
sense. That's to be expected.
Totally. No, you can't, like you said, you can't just go full bore to it,
Like we had Beau Dubois from Corner Door in LA, actually Culver City, and we were talking about one of the things that really inspired him was seeing his clientele evolve with him. So there were things a couple of years ago that wouldn't work, that will work today because he's had the same people coming in and he's grown with them and he's helped them evolve as customers. And that's just got to be so rewarding,
Absolutely. That's to have a regular base of clientele. As a bartender, we should all really respect having that clientele because that's your friends, that's your family away from your actual family. If you're working and you have friends sit there in front of you, it makes your shift go so much quicker. So that's a beautiful thing. You're absolutely right. If you can cultivate that culture. And at the same time, if you work in a place, you owe dedication to a place, is what I guess what I'd say. Now, sure, you're going to have some bad bars and you're going to have some bad owners and all that thing. But at the end of the day, man, stick it out. Like I've complained about my job so many times, but I'm still there.
Yeah.
I still show up and I still do the best I can.
Yeah.
So, you owe it to your city. You owe it to yourself. You owe it to your bar to really do that. It's a terrible trend to see good bartenders jumping from place to place. And you hate it for them because you can't really set roots anywhere, You don't bring any clout to the place you're in, and well, then you kind of shoot yourself in the foot when it comes to regulars, right?
Yep. And another thing you were mentioning when we were talking before is kind of being inspired by a chef's approach to bartending. Can you tell me about that?
Sure. I just love kind of the working hand in hand with my head chef.
So it's collaborative for you.
Certainly. I mean, that's definitely a part of it. I mean, sure, just the mentality that a chef has when he approaches a plate, I enjoy having that same mentality approaching a cocktail. Like, what can I do to really pack this cocktail full of all the beautiful things? What can I do to, like right now we have a cocktail on our menu with a celery ice cube. And, it's an easy recipe, but it's a beautiful thing. It's something that, why is there a green ice cube floating in my drink? And just approaching it with, okay, well, here's ice, here's celery. I want these two flavors. Okay, let's blend this together. Oh, why don't we do this? And, it's garnished with pea shoots and things like that. So it looks like a plate of food when it hits the table. But it's, it's one of those beautiful things that, and And for the bartender at my restaurant at my bar who made it was she made a tarragon and sorrel syrup. You know, it's one of those things where it sounds like garnish is just kind of put together now that I'm saying it out loud, but it's a delicious cocktail. And the collaborative part of it for me is you have to tap that resource of your head chef to say, hey man, like you've been thinking this way for 5-10 years. What can you give me? You know, every cocktail I make, I put in front of my head chef and say, what does this need? Or is this done? Or what do you think about this? What does this make you think of? Like, just, you know.
That's such a great perspective.
Their palates are amazing. Why not use them?
They're flavor experts.
Yeah. I mean, they can tell you. I mean, now, some of it has to be taken with a grain of salt because literally salt is the thing I was thinking of because every chef is going to say, oh, well, I need some saltiness or something like that. Well, not every cocktail deserves that. Not every cocktail needs that. But, you know, listen to them. Listen to what they say. Oh, I need more acid. I need more sugar. I need more booze. I need more bitter. They know all the same terms we do. And yeah, why not use their palate? Their head chefs are a reason. Yeah. You know? So,
it sounds like savory cocktails inspire you.
A lot. That's very true. I think so. That seems to be the most fun. The more you can play towards the umami part of a palate, which is sort of the hidden part, right?
Yeah.
It's the part that people don't really consider as often as sweet, salt, sour, and things like that. The more you can play towards that, the more people are impressed because it's flavors they've never really understood before. It's like biting into the best piece of sushi you've ever had, you know?
What are some fun flavors that you've explored on the savory side for cocktails?
Oh man. God, put me on the spot with this one.
We already talked about the celery ice cubes.
Yeah. So many different syrups, shrubs as well. Anything that's gonna like bring out the watery, like make your tongue water. That's anything that's gonna do that. Actually, in a tobacco tincture actually worked unbelievably well. There's a whole conversation of whether or not you should use tobacco tinctures, but you would not believe what it actually does for the palate as far as like bringing out the savory notes of a cocktail. Man, I'm serious. I can't like. There's so much that I'm trying to like go back through all of the parts of.
We'll come back to it because I have a feeling in like 5 minutes you'll be like, oh, I know exactly what I want to say.
That's totally my nature, and I will think about it. It's totally
because I want to ask you about pisco because I'm a pisco nut.
Okay,
and it sounds like you're a pisco guy too.
Over the last, I'd say 6 months or so, I've really, really developed sort of a new palate for pisco, a new appreciation I didn't have before. There's just so much you can do with it, and you know, I love having blue collar definitions for spirits, and like for mezcal, like the way I explain mezcal to a person who's never heard of mezcal, Scotch and tequila had a child. And most people are like, oh, okay, well that kind of makes sense. You know, they can put those two flavors together. But for pisco, I generally say like, well, it's like if rum beat up tequila, then you kind of that's kind of if they got into a fight and their blood mixed together, it's kind of what you got there. So. And people somehow seem to respond to that and really like that idea. But, yeah, I like being a bartender more than I like being a mixologist. I think everybody can say that. But I really like kind of getting not down on people's level. That's the wrong way to say that. I mean, like, I like speaking in vernacular that we can all understand.
You relate to people.
Yeah, I mean, that's what our job is. But it's also literally talking words that people can feel more at home about. It's a totally unconscious thing, but if a guy from South Georgia sat in front of me at my bar, within the first 3 minutes he's there, I'm going to say y'all. I guarantee you I am. It's just a comfort thing. It's a comfort level, but
there's an old saying that I'm going to butcher horrendously, but it's something to the effect of like an educator is someone that takes a concept and explains it in a very complicated way, but a real teacher is someone that takes a concept and makes it as simple as possible. And that's all about relating to people, right?
Absolutely.
Speaking their language, not making them adapt to you, but adapting to them.
Well, that was a great like chase of rabbit, but yeah, getting back, like you said, to pisco, like being able to relate that to people who have never literally heard the word pisco before. And trying to say, well, here's what this cocktail is going to do. Here's what we're going to make happen with this cocktail. And they say, okay, well, that sounds refreshing and beautiful. Why don't you let me try it? I'm not sure. The selling point to that one's always, all right, if you don't like it, I'll buy it. That generally people sends them over the top. They're like, yeah, bring it on then. Yeah, for sure.
I'll take that challenge.
Yeah, exactly. So, and 9 times out of 10, I'm going to win that because I'm confident in the flavors in the cocktail. And Pisco is one of those things that, you always know your Pisco sours. You always know the kind of traditional things to put around Pisco, but I've started really kind of understanding the versatility of Pisco and where you can go with that, what you can do with that. We have a cocktail on our menu right now that a bartender made. I can't take credit for it, but it's a delicious cocktail. Basil. There's a savory note for you, but yes. It's basil muddled into cucumber liqueur, lime juice, and Pisco, and a couple other components, but those are the main flavors to it. And people go crazy for it. I mean, it sounds just kind of like a sour, but it is a different flavor than most people are used to, especially in Atlanta. Like, you don't have people coming in asking you for your top shelf Pisco so they can sip on the rocks, know? So you kind of have to, like you said, relate to people and put it in their wheelhouse first.
And where are you at now?
Where am I working?
Yeah, bar.
Holeman Finch in Atlanta, Georgia. Holeman Finch Public House in Atlanta, Georgia. And I've been the bar manager there for a year and 9 months now.
Nice.
Yeah, it's a good spot, man, and we have a good time. Most people would know Holeman because we have a world famous burger. And
why is it world famous? Tell me more.
See, all right, here we go. Here goes the conversation. No, we used to do years ago. The place has been open for 8 years now. For the first, I guess, 4 or 5 years, maybe 6 years it was open. They used to do 24 burgers a night at 10 p.m. and that's all they would make. So you literally had people, because of the limited edition thing, people would literally sit at the bar from 7:30 and reserve a burger, get wasted until the burgers come out at 10 p.m. And, they would drink their faces off and eat everything else on the menu until that burger came out, and then they would go.
What's on the burger?
Simple burger. It's house-made buns, double stack with American cheese, steamed onions, and house-made pickles, house-made ketchup and mustard on the side.
So it's a minimalist burger.
Very much so. But the one truth about it is, in Atlanta, it is a top 5 burger in Atlanta every year. So says all of the list and everything. But that was certainly the Holeman Finch has a James Beard Award as well, and this was certainly sort of one of those things that put them on the national map.
Really?
So yeah.
What award?
James Beard Award.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
like the regional, which one it was?
Yeah, it was the best restaurant Southeast or something.
Cool.
One
Congratulations.
Of those. Yeah, I mean, I wasn't there to do anything for
You're
that.
Carrying on the legacy.
And that's kind of what I've staked my claim on, because the the cocktail program also was shortlisted for a James Beard Award the year after they won a food award. Mm-hmm. So there's the guy who the other beautiful thing about Holeman, the guy who originally started the bar program at Holeman, his name is Greg Best, who is widely considered sort of the godfather of craft cocktails in Atlanta. In 2007, when Holeman opened, there was no such thing as a craft cocktail program. Nobody really knew what that was.
That's only 9 years ago.
I know. That's, again, another reason why people in Atlanta are still so passionate and we still want to show up so hard, because we still know we have a lot to learn.
The Atlanta cocktail scene is younger than a lot of single malts.
That's true.
But go on.
That's a terrible way to look at it, but you're absolutely right.
But it's so exciting.
It is.
It's been saved for guys like you.
Yeah.
To bring to life. Like, how much of an opportunity is that? It's huge.
And this is why ultimately I love working at Holeman, because I am a step or two removed from the guy who ultimately is responsible for putting Atlanta's craft cocktail scene together. And that in the house that I am currently working in, that's an exciting proposition. Mm-hmm. There's been so many good things open since 2007 in Atlanta, but it's still widely regarded as a very hallowed ground for people in Atlanta. Like, say what you will about what Holeman is now or what it's become, people still show the respect for what it was. Mm-hmm. And so it's still a really good place to be.
And when you have friends come visit you in Atlanta, what are some of the other bars that you suggest people check out?
Kimball House would be the first place I would tell anybody. Ask anybody who's been to that place and they would tell you the same thing. It's run by a guy named Miles McQuarrie, who is top 2-3 best bartenders in Atlanta. Well, he doesn't bartend quite as much anymore, but he's one of the owning partners, and he does bartend. He just doesn't bartend quite as much. He just had a child. But his bar manager is a guy named David Chapman, who is just unbelievable at what he does. Their whole staff is unbelievably passionate, super knowledgeable. they do a crazy, awesome oyster happy hour where it's like dollar oysters, and you just sit there and eat oysters and all of these delicious cocktails. And they have such a good cocktail program. That's one. I would always recommend people going to Empire State South and seeing Kelly Thorne. She is just a vixen and a monster behind the bar. And
Oh, I met her.
did you?
Yeah, she's hard to miss.
Yeah, she is.
Yeah, she's feisty.
She is. She very much so is. She is just a beast behind the bar, though. To watch her work a stick is impressive. Their food there as well at Empire State South, Hugh Atchison, the guy from Athens, he owns that spot. So the food is awesome. Ticonderoga Club is a new place that just opened up in the Krog Street Market. That is the guy, Greg Best, who started Holeman. He's now owning this place, Ticonderoga, with another great bartender, Paul Calvert. And they're doing just a really fun program. It's something that everybody can get behind because you're just having a good time. It's the type of bar that if you wanted to go drink a Miller High Life and do shots all night, you would feel comfortable doing it there just as much as the guy who's drinking Pimm's cups next to you, you know? So it's a really fun place, man. I mean, this is the good and bad thing about Atlanta. Depending on what neighborhood you're in, I could send you to 5 or 6 different places, but those 3 are certainly ones that come up often when people ask me where to go. Seven Lamps, that's a really good one in the Buckhead area, which is generally the bougie crowd, but they still run a very good program there. And there's a lot of new places that's opened up that I am super excited about, that they're kind of stepping into a new territory with craft cocktails. There's this place, Hampton and Hudson, that just opened a month or 2 ago. To walk into the place, it looks like a sports bar. There's just TVs everywhere. I mean, it looks like a Chili's. But you go up to the bar, and the guy's like an unbelievably knowledgeable bartender, and you could sit there and order Ramos's all night long, and he's going to be happy to make them for you. Or you can sit there and, drink Bud Light. Yeah. It doesn't matter. But it was just such a weird thing to walk into that and see that. Actually, I really enjoy that because I'm a huge sports fan. So, the fact that I can watch a ball game and drink a Ramos is...
Who's your team?
I'm all right with that. What sport?
You tell me.
Baseball is the Braves. They look so bad right now, but it's okay. So it's okay. Let's not talk about that. But
just hold on to the Turner glory years.
Well, this is the last year in Turner. They're about to open a new stadium there next year. Oh. And I'm so sorry for all of you people going to come into Atlanta down 75, because that 75-285 interchange is just going to be a nightmare after that stadium opens. But neither here nor there. Yeah, Braves all my life.
Oh, there it is.
For football, I'm a Falcons fan by proxy, but always rooted for the Bengals for whatever reason growing up.
So you're a confused football fan.
I am a confused football fan.
Go with the winners.
Well, see, I can't even do that right. A Falcons and a Bengals fan, I'm not doing that right. So for college football, I'm a Michigan Wolverine fan. My dad was a Wolverine fan.
Oh.
So that's a weird one too when I'm,
Harbaugh.
Oh, man.
San Francisco guy.
Boy, I am so excited this year to see what happens.
They're going to be good.
They're going to be real good.
They're going to be real good.
Yeah. If Harbaugh don't, God, he's going to go crazy. I can feel it. He's going to end up being the Bobby Knight of college football, I'm telling you. But yeah, the Wolverines look great. But it's just weird being in Atlanta and you've got all these people screaming Yellow Jackets and Go Dogs and all this stuff. And I'm like, Wolverines. And they look at me and they're like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, well, there's a conference outside of the SEC.
I don't think they do know that.
They don't know that.
No.
That's true. No, SEC is football to them. So soccer, I'm a Liverpool fan. I just generally love sports in general. It's a familial thing. My dad was a huge sports fan, so he just got me into it when I was a real young kid.
Awesome.
Yeah, we watched baseball games when I was 3 and 4 years old on Sunday afternoons. Fantastic memories, but yeah, that's what always got me into it.
Game on. Well, Thank you so much for taking some time and catching up with us. We're taking our entire company to your town next week, and We're going to throw down. It's going to be amazing. Hopefully we cross paths with you.
I don't see why not.
While we're there, and really enjoyed hearing about Atlanta, and I hope that we can do this again because it was kind of fun.
Yeah, dude. Absolutely. Anytime we can.